Perfect. Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for having us in. For those of you who may not know who we are, I'm Tara, and then I've got Jamie and Lauren with us together. We are Girls with Grit. Girls with Grit we do a little bit of everything. We have a coaching community, we have a free Facebook community, we do a lot of stages, a lot of presentations that way, but essentially we are just here to kind of help raise the bar in the industry and by sharing everything that we know and love and know to be true as far as building our businesses and marketing our listings. We do a little bit of everything. So today we have a really fun presentation for you. It's 5 Mile Famous, which is essentially how you become the digital mayor of your community. And I think that this will be a really great pairing, especially for those of you that are working with Easy Home Search and doing internet leads. I know that it can be difficult when you're generating a lot of internet business and then you're like, what do I say to these people? Like, I can only send them so many houses. I'm sending them emails every day. I've got them on these drip campaigns. Like, nobody's responding. And truthfully, we're just big believers in Preston, hopefully he won't kill me for saying this, but like the anti-drip campaign, right? And what we because you know how it is, right? Like you buy a pair of shoes from a shoe company, and then all of a sudden you're on there, you get an email from them every single day. You are under no impression that it's actually personalized, and it doesn't really give you the warm fuzzies, right? So what we teach is marketing that, number one, you can be proud to put out, right? Number two, that's actually going to generate relationships with those people and bring those cold people down into your funnel and really give you a great idea, or give them a great idea of who you really are, how you do business. And it's just like a much better feeling, right? Repeat and referral business is a lot higher because of that. Start to get more referrals. So anyways, I guess I'll just share. Jamie, Lauren, did you have anything to add to that?
No, let's roll, sister.
All right, I got it. I got this. I feel like I have to apologize in advance because my phone is on Do Not Disturb and it's still beeping. So whatever. You guys will hear the beep.
Can't hear it. You're good. Can't hear it.
All right, awesome. So 5 Mile Famous. This is probably one of the favorite classes amongst the Girls with Grit community. So we're going to kind of give you an abbreviated presentation on this. This is normally a 3-day workshop that we're actually going to be doing in a couple weeks here. But let's get going. So Jamie, take it away.
Yeah, so what are we going to cover today? I'm just going to high level here. What does 5 Mile Famous even mean? Why is 5 Mile Famous? And why this should be your number one marketing strategy? And then how the 5 Mile Famous is different than farming or niche marketing, because it's different. And we're going to explain that to you guys so you understand and how to layer all your efforts. We're going to give you the 5 Mile say that 5 times fast. The 5 Mile Famous framework. We're going to identify your power partners list. If you don't have this already, this is going to come in clutch, and we want you to focus on building that power partner list as we move into 2026 so that you have some power partners to really amplify your business in your 5 mile radius. And then ideas for implementing your 5 Mile Famous framework into your actual community.
Yeah. So what is 5 Mile Famous? Look at Tara's cute little picture there. She is the epitome of 5 Mile Famous. I'm just saying. But that is someone who's well known, right? They're recognized within a relatively small geographic area, typically within a radius of about 5 miles from where they live or operate. And it implies a localized, almost celebrity status, often within a neighborhood, town, or a small community. So it's basically when you are at like the grocery store and somebody's like, hey, aren't you that real estate lady? Or you're at the soccer field and they're like, I think you're the real estate lady, but like, they don't even know your name necessarily, right? But they know your face, they know your brand, they know that you're in real estate, right? That's what we mean when we say 5 Mile Famous. Don't get hung up on the 5 miles. Depending on where you're located, your 5 miles might be 20 miles. Your 5 miles might be half a mile, right? But the big thing to take away from this is it's a centralized, localized area.
So kind of what we're hoping to take you guys through today is most real estate agents marketing right now is somewhat haphazard, right? Because like you're like, okay, I got a call and they want me to sponsor this golf tournament. So I'm doing the golf tournament, and then I'm doing postcards over here at my listing. And then I'm also sponsoring this kids event at my kids' school. And like all of it is really great, but none of it overlaps. And that's where the key problem becomes, is that you're not hitting the same people enough times over. So, and you don't really have any real direction of where to spend your money. Like you're like, okay, well, I had a great quarter, so now I have $10,000 to spend in marketing, and then the next quarter is like kind of crappy, and then you only have $2,000 to spend in marketing. So we want to get you guys some semblance of organization and how to actually dictate where your money goes, so the same people are seeing it over and over again. And also ramp up that consistency, right? We want people to see you consistently and frequently. We've got some stats later on in the slides, but you can't just show up in somebody's mailbox one time and expect them to want to do business with you, right? So many times people are like, oh, postcards don't work. I sent out a just listed postcard and nobody called me. Well, yeah, no shit, nobody's calling you. Are you going to call somebody because you got one postcard from them? No, you're not, right? So how to continuously show up with people. And your marketing is looked at on kind of like a transactional basis versus a holistic approach. And again, what we mean by that is like you've got listings in 5 different neighborhoods and you're sending just listed postcards in 5 different neighborhoods, or just closed postcards in 5 different neighborhoods, and how to really make all of those marketing pieces communicate. So you're going to leave with a clear marketing strategy that dictates where your money should be spent, that supports consistent and frequent exposure to the same audience. And we want your marketing decisions to be based on the overall goal, not the individual location of your listing. So let's talk about becoming 5 Mile Famous.
Yeah, so too many agents out here are trying to be experts everywhere, right? How many times you guys see in these referral groups, they're like, who knows an agent? I live in Charlotte. Who knows an agent in Charlotte? And all of a sudden you see so-and-so, yeah, I'm an expert there. And you're like, no, brother, you live in the mountains, right? They're trying to be all things to all people, and it gets us in trouble. So what we really should be focused on is becoming an authority in our hyper local area. So whatever that looks like for you, for me, that's Lake Norman right outside of Charlotte. So it's where I live, it's where I work, it's where my kids go to school. It just makes sense that I would be an authority in the place that I do life, right? So we got to stop trying to be all things to all people. Your time is your money, and just being hyper focused will help you be more efficient.
Yeah, so why are we going to do this? Especially since you're partners with Easy Home Search in some way or another, and you're getting all these internet leads, which is great. It's great that you've got your local area on lock, but this also layered with that, it helps you laser focus your marketing efforts, right? Going back to what Lauren said, you're able to really pour into one area. You get to develop a deep expertise in that area, allowing you to understand the unique dynamics, trends, factors, etc. For example, I'm here in the Raleigh market. We get a lot of people that relocate all the time. Who am I to tell them that I'm an expert over in Wake Forest when I've been there one time in my life, even though that's the Raleigh market? I don't know the schools. I don't know the restaurants. I don't know what people do to hang out and have fun over there. Like, shame on me. I'm not ever going to call myself the expert over there. So when people tell me that they're ready to relocate to Raleigh, I always ask, well, what part? If you're Southwest Wake County, I got you. Anywhere outside of that, that's not my area, right? We need to be able to influence these people and understand how they're going to live, work, play in that area. You also get to establish unmatched brand recognition extremely quickly. Ask me how I know. I relocated here 6 years ago. Within 12 months, I had sold as a solo agent 25 million in a brand new market where I didn't know a single person by utilizing the 5 Mile Famous strategy. That's what we're talking about here. And I didn't buy a single lead. All right. It helps position yourself as the authority, allowing you to increase that demand for your services and your professional fees. Yes, we're talking commission dollars. So instead of just taking everything in a fight to the bottom where you're like, yeah, I'll do it for 1%. No, you can stand firm in whatever fee you want to ask. This is giving my age away. About almost 20 years ago now, right before I got into real estate, I knew this guy. He was 5 Mile Famous as a real estate agent. And he was demanding 7% listing fee, you guys. 7%, because he was 5 Mile Famous and everyone wanted to work with him. And that's what we're going to go over today with you, is being able to demand whatever fee that you want to ask for and get it.
So this is a pretty basic statistic. Everybody kind of knows this, at least I hope you know this, that a consumer needs to be exposed to your brand 7 times before they even recognize it. Okay. And that's just simple recognition. That's not that they trust you. That's not that they like you or that they're even considering using you. It's just giving them that aha moment in their brain. Like, hey, I've seen this person before. Oh, I recognize the girl on that photo, or I recognize the guy in that newsletter. So keep that in mind as we're going, because that's our goal for you, is to be able to see the same people over and over and over again. And I know I've said that like 3 times now, but that's how important it is to your marketing dollars. So where to spend your marketing dollars? Think about this. When people are calling you, and they, especially now, how many of you guys are getting phone calls right now that are like, do you want to sponsor an event? Do you want to buy my thing? Do you want to be in my magazine? Like, and you're like, no, I don't want any of those things. But number one, does the physical location of the marketing, and y'all might want to write this down, does the physical marketing of the location of the marketing land in your 5 Mile Famous area, right? Like everybody wants to like crap on grocery carts, for example, or billboards, but it's like, you know what? Like if you're already famous in that area and those items are going to be the things that everybody sees on a daily basis, then maybe a billboard's not a bad idea for you, right? Are the recipients of the marketing your ideal audience, right? And does the marketing further the demonstration of your marketing expertise or marketing dominance, right? So like something like this, I'm going to go back to the golf cart idea, right? For a golf tournament sponsorship. Like if your name's just in the book, that's not getting you anywhere, right? But can you do a 1/4-page ad that you can actually talk about the golf course listing that you have in that particular area? So we'll give you some more examples of that going forward. But the whole idea is,
we want to focus
go ahead.
being omnipresent. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. The whole idea, like Tara's saying, she's trying to show you that we want to be omnipresent. What is omnipresent? It's basically being everywhere at the same time. I don't know how many times people have said, oh, I saw you here and I saw you there and I saw you do this and I saw you do that. Or didn't you just do that ad and it literally wasn't me that did an ad, but they thought it was me? How many of you have had that experience? That's fun, right? You're like, yeah, I did send out those postcards. No, it was a competitor, but they thought it was me. And that's all that matters because I'm omnipresent. So step one, you're going to examine your area here. Lauren, sorry, go for it.
No, I don't care. Me or you, boo, we all do this, so I'm good with it. Examine that area though. So where do they live, right? And this kind of goes back to the graphic that we saw earlier. Not just North Colorado Springs, like where do they actually live? What are the names of the neighborhoods? You guys know how some of those areas are maybe 5 neighborhoods that make up like a little mini market, right? Get real granular on that. And then what is the typical family structure? If you don't know this stuff, a lot of us know it, right, in real estate, but you can also ask ChatGPT and get real specific on some of these like different demographics within your hyperlocal area. What's the average household income? What are nearby local shopping and dining options? Like the mom and pop stuff, y'all, not just like there's a Target up the street, but really, where are the local businesses? Where do their kids go to school? Is there private school options? What about daycares, right? What are popular community events that happen in that hyper local area? Is there the same Santa lighting or the Santa lighting? We're not lighting Santa on fire, tree lighting. Although he might need a little lit up every now and then. But what happens locally to you, right? Is there the same like holiday parades every single year? You know, take note of that and see what that looks like on the regular in your hyper local area.
Yeah. And just to kind of further this a little bit, think about it in these terms, right? Like what information can you have in your 5 Mile Famous area that is not readily available by a quick Google search, right? And so think about it in this way, like in my area, right? Like Denver schools, anybody can go on greatschools.org or any of those places and find out like Cherry Creek School District is #1 and Douglas County School District is #2, right? But in my 5 Mile Famous area, like I know which elementary school your kid should go to if they have an IEP requirement because they have the most support or they have the on-site IEP people, right? Or I know which school your kid should go to if they're a more creative brain and they want to be like a performing arts type of person, right? So like when you're creating content in your 5 Mile Famous area, it's not about like, oh, this school district is #1. Anybody can figure that out, right? Who do you know? Where do you know the principal? How do you know who has a school resource officer on site 5 days a week, right? Like all of these little things will help establish you as the actual expert in that area.
Yeah, that's good.
The second step that you're going to do when we're talking about 5 Mile Famous, and this is really, really important, you guys, so don't skip this one, is create a community directory. Okay, this is simple Google sheet. Okay. This is not a CRM. This is not anything fancy. You don't need a special program for it. Just literally a Google sheet. And you're going to have all of the businesses in your area. This is a fantastic project for your VA if you have one, right? So you're going to have what type of business are they, or what's the business name? What type of business are they? If there's a manager, you want to try to get that information and their contact information. This could be restaurants, shopping, boutiques, medical providers, daycares, professional services like tax, financial planners, those types of people. Trade people, right? Who's the plumber that's actually going to show up? Who's the electrician that is not going to rake somebody over the coals to add one outlet? So all of those kinds of beauty service providers. Men, this is for you too. I can guarantee you the most valuable person in your database is the woman that is behind the hair chair, right? Because they're with your clients 3 hours at a time, every 6 to 8 weeks, right? So don't overlook people that can be really important assets. And we're going to show you how to use this spreadsheet in just a little bit.
Now you're going to get to step 3 with your 100 power partners. Remember we talked about that in the very beginning. We want you to focus on this. It's because we want you to identify people who have a disproportionate amount of influence in your local market. So I'm talking about, for me, it would be my closing attorney who's also running for a local office, right? He knows absolutely everyone. I want to become besties with him on a high level. I want him to be my power partner because if somebody needs something and it's related to something that I can offer, he's going to connect me to them. So think about your connectors, think about your influential people in your market. That can be your power partners. And this can be people that are painters. They're, they have a roofing company. Maybe they're a local attorney. Like, it doesn't just have to be real estate related people, by the way. Just like Tara said, maybe it's somebody who's super influential and like a micro influencer when it comes to being a hairdresser. So it's all that stuff. It's people that got that great social media presence that you can collaborate with online on social media, that have a willingness to support the community. I'm not just talking to benefit themselves. I'm talking people that have a servant heart, that want to be there to pour into the community alongside you, that want to support them because they love the community, and then develop these relationships at a high level. So this is probably going to be your homework over the next week or so as you're building out your 100 power partner list, so that you go into 2026 with a good idea of who you want to become in better relationship with.
Yeah. I'll just give you a quick example here. So this is 5 Mile Famous is what we do. I made $500,000 out of my farm 2 years ago, like in 1 year from doing this. So you can make a lot of money just with this strategy. So one of my power partners is Pets Love, right? Pets Love is like a local boutique style dog company, right? So they sell like the high-end dog food, all the fancy stuff. It's not PetSmart, it's not Petco, right? And they do some really cool stuff in the community. Like, for example, they have once a quarter, they do free vaccinations, right? Or they do nail trimming once a month, like on the 3rd Thursday of the month, they do free nail trimming for dogs. And so this is Aiden. Aiden is the owner of this particular location of Pets Love. And so like we host a event inside of my farm area, which is about, I don't know, less than a mile from Pets Love. And it's called Dog Days of Summer because in Colorado, we close our pools, right? So on the last day that the pool is open, we get all the community. They bring their dogs in, they swim in the pool. It's super fun. We have all of our vendors out there. Pets Love is one of the vendors. They brought these like really cool little snack bags and everything like that. And so this is a way that I'm collaborating with local boutique owners inside of my area. And you know who gets referrals from Aiden at Pets Love? Me. Right. And I didn't even pay for any of this. Like, he came and he brought all of this. So this is how you want to start working with local business owners in your area, so you have a true back and forth relationship.
But some of these people love their dogs more than they love their own kids. So getting good graces with the pet guy.
That's true, right?
That's so true. All right. So let's talk about Facebook groups. This would be you owning the Facebook group inside your 5 Mile Famous area, right? This is an example of Tara's Community Meridian Village, but it does not have to be the actual like neighborhood. Any Facebook group, right? It can be a mom's group. It can be a empty nesters group. It can be a we like to get together and play bingo group, like whatever, but something that makes sense for your ideal client that's going to be hyper local to you guys, right? So in a group that you own, you have a little bit more flexibility, right? Because you make the rules. So when you're in these kind of groups, we want you to be super consistent, right? So We want you to post at least 3 times a week, valuable posts too. This isn't like I'm going to have a bingo group and I'm just going to spam it with my listings and other people's listings. Like, no, we're not doing that. It doesn't even need to be real estate related, these posts. We're talking about value, value, value. And eventually we sprinkle the real estate stuff in there, right? You can advertise these events that you're doing. That's the benefit of owning the group. You can advertise that you're doing a community event, that you're doing the Dog Days of Summer event. And this is a great place for you to do that. What kind of new restaurants and shops are coming to your area? What kind of new build communities? That's a way for you to establish yourself as having some sort of authority in the real estate space while still adding value to the people in the group, right? Community events, school news, all of these things work well for her because it's a living type group, right? So living can be all these things, right? Restaurants, new builds, school news. So depending on what kind of group that you create, just be mindful of that and continue to add value. But it's a great place. But the key with these Facebook groups is you've got to be consistent. You can't just create the group and then ghost it because it just won't work.
Yeah.
You know, I'd love to bridge this real quick with Easy Homes. What they do is like, essentially at the end of the day, y'all, you creating these Facebook groups, this is where the hidden dollars sit, by the way. But it gives you an opportunity with as much information as you can start to get from these people as you get their information. You know they're looking at Meridian Village. You can post like, hey, did you see that? You post that in the group and then you call them and you're like, hey, I just want to personally invite you to my whatever event, my, Thanksgiving pie event, whatever you're doing. And I'd love for you to come on by and take a look. I'm actually hosting it at this open house that I have, blah, 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 blah. It gives you an opportunity to call and invite them and get back in touch with these people that maybe have gone cold on you. So it's just that opportunity to tie the two together and constantly stay in front of these contacts without just calling just a call and doing a 30-second like opportunity to give them something of value.
Right. And we're going to talk about events here in a second too. So like, just to kind of get you guys caught up on what we've done now. So number one is we've identified exactly what our area is, and we've identified who lives there and exactly what their needs are, right? Then we've identified all of the businesses around us that could potentially be good partners for us, right? That are going to feed the needs of our 5 Mile Famous area. Then we've identified a smaller group of 100 business partners where we're like, okay, these are the people that I want to build community with, right? Building community is the number one thing that you can do in real estate. People will work with you because they like you, way before they will work with you because they think that you're the expert. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten listings because people are like, well, you do all the food drives in the neighborhood. Like that's something that's personal to them. So they want to work with you in that reason, right? So now the way that we're staying in front of all of those people is inside of this Facebook group. Does that make sense? And the Facebook group does not have to be necessarily one neighborhood. It could be an area. It could be a county. It could be like, I don't know, Azar County Living or whatever. It doesn't have to be, I don't want you to think about it. It has to be in a neighborhood because so many times people are like, well, my neighborhood doesn't have a name. Make it up. Literally, make it up.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. This is what you're going to do. If there is, going back to what Tara just said, let's say there is a group for your neighborhood that's already created or for your town that's already created, or maybe there's 5 and you're like, honestly, it's too much, Jamie. Okay, we got you. Let's just say that you don't own this group, but you still want to mind the group, okay? You need to ask engaging questions within that group, within that community group. And yes, going back to what Bailey says here in the chat box, you can create landing pages that Easy Home Search is created for you guys to post on social media into Facebook groups. But here's what I'm going to warn you on. Before you ever do that, make sure you're contributing before you give a ask, if you will, and post your listings or whatever landing page that you have. Because the more that you're giving away, you'll create relationships. People will see you. They'll start to recognize your name so that when you do go to post, it's just not crickets and quiet. Because that's the other thing. Facebook rewards you in other community groups, even if you don't own them. The more that you engage in there, the more that they're willing to show what you post to other people in the group. And that is how you crack the code. So you have to answer questions, provide helpful solutions. Going back to your 100 power partners. Hey, I'm looking for a local person that like can get my blonde super blonde. Who do you guys know that's an excellent hairstylist that can get me super blonde? You go on that list, You tell them, hey, here's so-and-so. She's phenomenal. She's over at Rockstar Hair. I also have a list of like 100 local people. If you want it, I'm happy to give it to you. Just drop your email and I'll send it your way. Like, how easy is that? We like panic and we just think that we don't have anything of value. So you always say that is like, oh, I refer my real estate clients to Jenny at Rockstar Hair. Here's her phone number. Tell her Jamie sent you. Right? And that's where you can coordinate community outreach efforts, going back to what Tara said about doing local food drives. Even if you don't own a Facebook group, you can do that. I did that in my community. There was already the group. I'm like, well, how do I insert myself, provide value, and not come across as that slimy, salesy real estate agent that we have that bad rap for, right? Provide resources, you guys. That's what I'm going to say time and time again. You have the opportunity to provide like a sort of lead magnet or something of value. 10 local hikes that you should take this fall, like stuff like that. Just continue to provide value to people in your community, and that is how you're going to continue to build those relationships and connections that are going to make you that 5 Mile Famous that you're hoping for.
This is like the easiest, most slam dunk time of year for you guys to start this. Like, that's why we teach this class at this time of year, because there is so much going on during the holidays, right? Like pumpkin patches, sensory friendly trunk or treats, indoor trunk or treats that are for kids that are 5 years or younger, where to see Santa, best houses for Christmas lights. Like, all of these things are lead magnets. Jamie just brought up a lead magnet. Like, those are things where you can create a really simple PDF with all of that information, put your contact information small at the bottom, and then every time somebody asks about something like that in one of these Facebook groups, then you just drop it. And that's another really key piece that we want to tell you guys, is that provide the answer in the group. Do not pull that stuff of like, oh, let me DM you my carpet cleaner's name, right? Like, some coach someplace taught that, and it's the worst idea ever. Why is it the worst idea ever? First of all, you're gatekeeping, and everybody can tell that it's super self-serving, right? Number one, everybody can see that from the get-go. Number two, now you're limiting that information to one person. If you just put it in the group, now everybody can see that Sam has an awesome carpet cleaner that he shared with everybody. And you know what? Not only the people on that thread are going to see it, but me, the person who doesn't want to ask questions in Facebook groups, I search Facebook groups for carpet cleaners.
Yep.
And then I see that Sam dropped that comment 18 months ago. Right. And so his information is continuing to live inside of this Facebook group. So if you take anything away from this class, take that piece away right now, because that's the way to win, you guys. One thing that you guys love Matt, and you love everybody at Easy Home Search. We are all coached by the same coaches, and there is something to be said for give everything away for free. You just give it away. People can see it. Oh, look, I started rattling some off, but we'll just say it again. Some Facebook group resources. Take a screenshot of this, you guys, if you want to. Fall festivals, summer water parks, where to see Santa. Christmas light driving tours are hot, you guys. Everybody loves Christmas light driving tours. Where to donate, especially right now. Okay, so newsjacking, you guys. What's going on in the media right now? Put it in the chat right now. What's happening in the media right now that we can Nobody watches the news. Okay, that's fine. SNAP benefits are going away November 1st, right? Do we know that 1 in 8 Americans rely on some sort of government funded food? Yes, we know that, right? So what is some information that you could put out there purely to serve your community? What are some of the local food banks that people might not know about, right? Can you share that? Can you share a list of items that food banks desperately need right now that's maybe somebody could donate? A lot of us want to donate. We don't have the time to figure out where to donate it to or what they need. So be that person that provides that. Maybe you do a food drive in your community to show that you're supporting your community. So like you utilize those types of resources in here too. You can also do fun things like best date night restaurants, school links. I think I have something on here next for that. Staycation ideas, free days, right? Everybody needs a free meal right now. So where do kids eat free? Everywhere in your community. Wednesdays, they eat free at this restaurant. Thursdays, it's a free appetizer at this restaurant. Fridays, it's free dessert at this restaurant. Be the person that puts that information out there. This is a school link idea. How many of you wave your hand if you're a parent in this Okay, there's if you're not one, lots of people in your community are parents. And you know what parents struggle with? The fact that there's 25 freaking links for every single one of their kids. Okay. And what I mean by that is it's like there's one link for the school menu, there's another link for where you actually fill up the kids' school, thing. There's another link for the calendar, there's another link for the school supplies, there's another link for the after school activities. It's like it's Link City, right? So what if you created a very simple link tree that had all of those links for your school district in one spot, and then you shared that out to your community? Maybe you collect an email address in exchange for that, right? So that's what we did for our local school district here. We did like the check-in, the where to find out like if there's delays for weather, the bus, all the information, right? It's all in one spot. People just opt into it. We have thousands of opt-ins at this point for this, you guys. So easy.
Hella smart, Tara.
All right, more fun stuff, Lauren.
Yeah, I love the fun stuff. The community events, right? And this doesn't have to be a large event. It can, right? We can have these large scale events, but we can also do smaller things too. So think about what that could look like. A 4th of July parade, holiday event, a fall fest, an Easter egg hunt. You could rent a movie theater. I did that a couple years ago when Hocus Pocus 2 came out. That was super fun. But think about when you're doing these large scale events, you're not going to be able to do these every single month, right? So how can you do that throughout the year? Maybe you do 2 or 3 larger events, and then we'll talk about small events that you can layer in there. Here's an example of the bike parade that Tara did in her neighborhood. If you want to give any details on that, you always have a great turnout for that.
Yeah, this event, just real quick, this event cost me like $250 a year, and we get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. Like literally the kids, they just like, they dress up their bikes. I call the fire department. The fire department comes for free. I give away all of the red, white, and blue swag at our tent, and people look forward to this every single year. So this is a really easy one to do. It might be a little too close to Halloween this year, but you could do this. You could do a costume contest. Like how many parents would love you to give their kids an opportunity to show off their costume a second time instead of just once on Halloween, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or if you live in a golf course neighborhood like me, do this. We do this every single year. We do 4th of July, we do Halloween, and we do a Christmas golf cart parade. And I give away a prize, and everyone decorates their carts. There's my kids, my kids and my husband in the top right picture there. This was last year. But we do it every single year. In fact, this one is coming up in 2 weeks. No, 2 days. Why did I say 2 weeks? 2 days. So it should be fun. But you guys, it's real simple. It's real easy. I also dropped this in our neighborhood. I don't own the neighborhood Facebook group. I dropped it in there. The club took that, redistributed it with my information and logo on it, and emailed it out to everyone. Like that's how simple and easy it is to become 5 Mile Famous, is continuing to contribute. And just being a good human being. We say that all the time. The best business plan is just being a good human being. That's it.
Yep, for sure. This is just a school supply drive that we did. So we're lucky, blessed enough to live in a pretty affluent community. And so it's not necessarily my neighbors that need school supplies, but they're very aware of the needs of the communities that are around us, and they want to help. And so like, I just coordinate the school supplies. People bring their school supplies. You guys can see this picture on the top, a bunch of kids, right? So we invite the kids to come put all of the little bags together, right? Because we do it for a specific grade. And so they put, the 2 notebooks, the 1 folder, the 1 pack of markers, whatever. And so then now their kids are getting involved too, and they're learning to be philanthropic. So it's a win-win all around. It doesn't cost, well, I buy the backpacks. I shouldn't say it doesn't cost me anything, but I do that because I want to. I could always just ask for somebody to do the backpacks. But these are ways that you can give back to your community.
I think what we're trying to say here is that it's not going to cost you much money unless you want it to. You rely on your power partners, you rely on your neighbors, you rely on your community to rally. You're just the one leading the charge. That's it.
Yeah. And then these smaller scale events, right? You can do these every other month if you want to, which would be ideal. But think of these as like, these are less than 20 people. This is a group that you could have into your home, right? Or on the top picture there, maybe it's something you don't even pay for. There's a wild idea. Maybe you're just the connector, because people want community. So if you can be that person that just says, hey, Actually, I reserved it. I have 10 spots to do the wine and design or whatever you want to do. Or maybe you're making a flower arrangement or a fall candle or whatever it is. I reserved it. I've got spots for 10 people. Let me know if you're in. It's $25 a head. Would love to have you. So like we got to get out of our head that like we can't do anything because we don't have any marketing dollars right now. Like things are tight. You can. We just have to figure it out and like be resourceful. So just being that person that brings other people together is huge. And then we've said this several times too, like tell them to invite a friend. Maybe you've got room for 20, but you invite 10 and you say, hey, bring your bestie. I would love to meet some, like, I love the way me and you vibe. You're a great like person to be around. Bring somebody that's just like you. I'd love to meet them. Right.
Can we talk about that for a second? Because I think that's so important, the bring a friend concept, because what that does that you may not realize, like, yes, it gets an extra person to your table that you get to be introduced to, which is awesome. But the other thing is it makes other people more likely to show up because they know that even if everybody else at that event sucks, they've got their wing woman, right? Like they're like, okay, so even if all these people are weird, like my best friend's going to be with me and we're going to make it a great time no matter what. And so it helps to it helps to increase your attendance. And I will also say, just as we're going back and forth between events, agents have a tendency to think bigger is better, right? We're always like, oh my gosh, if we get 1,000 people to this event, like that's so awesome. And yeah, that's great content for your social media that like 500 people came to your pumpkin patch. But how many seconds were you able to talk to each one of those 500 people? Like 1 second, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe, right? You essentially just get to introduce yourself and that's it because you're going to the next person. These smaller events is where you really can build, like they don't seem exciting. And sometimes like our coaching students will be like, oh, well, I only got 8 people. Well, you got 8 people that you got to talk to for 15 to 20 minutes a piece, one-on-one, and actually truly build that relationship into a spot where they're going to feel like they know you and they want to refer you to other people, right? So the smaller events can actually sometimes be way better than the bigger events. Like think about the big events as like your billboard or your window shopping, and then like your smaller events are like your one-on-one, catering designer or whatever.
Yep.
Oh, these are more pictures. I forgot we did these more pictures. Oh, giveaways are really cool too. So a couple questions I saw in the chat was like, I'm stalled out. People aren't joining my Facebook group. How many of you guys have Facebook groups and you're struggling to get people to join them? Giveaways are a really great way to get people to join your Facebook group because what happens is you post it on your socials and you post it in other groups and you say, hey, the giveaway is happening in Meridian Village Living, right? And get like a family 4-pack to or 5-pack or whatever to the zoo lights in your area. Or like we have a Santa train that the tickets always sell out really early. So we get like a 5-pack early on in the year because we remember it. And then we give them away when they're all sold out. So people get excited about that kind of thing. And it drives people into your community group. Business events. Okay. At some point, you have to stop being the party planner and you have to start building your real estate authority, right? This is another people inside of our coaching groups. Sometimes I don't want to call it fail, but they get off track. Okay. Because they're like so excited about throwing the parade and the costume party and the pie giveaway event and this cookies with Santa. And at no point during any of that did they flex their real estate muscle. And so you need to be thinking about how can you flex your real estate muscle? And that typically happens with business events. Jamie, talk about these ones because you did an awesome couple of classes for business owners.
Yeah, so this one was a top right photo. I think I had about 15 people show up to this. I teamed up with my media guy here in my local market and hosted essentially a digital marketing mastermind, if you will, for local business owners. What did that do? It put me in front of other people that I wanted to get better connected to build those relationships, but it also provided them something of value that they know that they needed. So you think outside the box. It doesn't always have to be something real estate related. It can be, like I did, business to business. And that's where you create those relationships. That's where you meet those people that have influence. But some of these ideas, digital marketing, you can do a Canva workshop because Lord knows every single freaking entrepreneur needs to know how to market and they're using Canva, right? And we get frustrated with Canva, so that's a good one. Ninja networking, tax planning, that's a big one, especially for entrepreneurs. Business insurance, you guys get the picture. These again can vary in size. So you can get somewhere from 10 people to 50 or 100. It just depends. But just market the crap out of it. Get as much information as you can. And here's what I'll tell you. On any event that you do, even if you're doing these business events and you only get 10 or 15 people that show up, the power is in the invite. With as much information as you can get from people so that the next time you do something, you can call them, you can text them, you can email them, you can invite them, right? Then the powers and after that, when the class is over, the next day, 2 days later, you can segment your list and email them and say, thanks for coming. I loved having you. Or, oh, I'm sorry I missed you. Hopefully you can make it the next time. Or through text message. Or, you guys get the picture here. The more segmenting that you can do in your follow-up pre and post event, the better off you're going to be. Because people are going to go, oh, shoot. Like, dang, Lauren actually realized I wasn't there. Maybe I should show up for the next one. Right?
Yeah, you should. You better.
Yeah, you should. Well, and I'll tell you what, like, really, none of us have really said a whole lot about like how much real estate that we sell, but like you have to realize that there's implied authority with all of these events too, right? Like if you're doing a Canva class and all the examples that you're showing are your real estate things, right? And you're like, oh, this is my list, this is my flyer for this one, or oh, this is this pop by tag I did, or this is this, like the people that are sitting in the audience are like, wow, she must actually sell a lot of real estate because she's got like 10 different houses on these flyers and that's just for this class, right? And so you start to build implied authority. And then the last one is like very specific real estate events. And sometimes people get a little bit nervous about hosting these because maybe they don't feel super confident in these areas. Like you're like, I'm a great real estate agent, but I don't know that I can really explain property taxes that well. So either number one, I'll tell you this, ideally learn it, because if you're going to teach a class on something, you will learn so much about that particular subject, I guess we would call it, right? So like I wasn't a property tax authority, but when our property taxes in our local market went up 47% in 1 year, I became one, right? And I did all of the research that it took to figure out how are they calculated, who calculates them, how often are they calculated, what goes into that calculation, how do you, appeal your property tax? Like I learned all of that, and then I went out and taught a class on it. Right. And that has shoveled me so much business, and it's a different type of business, which is really important too, because all the fun stuff that's going to attract your families, and like this stuff, the kind of boring stuff is usually what's going to attract people that are either they've got money and they're just not flashing it. Right. So they're like investors, or they're move up type of people, business owners. That's who these types of events attract. And so you can kind of start to work the whole scope of your area, as opposed to I'm leaning really hard into families. So you could do property tax. You can do becoming an investor, right? So one of the classes, like I just handed out a whole bunch of gifts to some of my sphere of influence. And I said, look, this is the best buyer's market I've seen in Denver since 2010. And so if you're, maybe you don't want to sell your current home, but let's talk about you investing in a rental property, right? So you can host classes about that, how to leverage their home equity. A lot of people are locked in because of their interest rate, but they don't have to lose the ability to use all that home equity. Teach them how to use their equity to buy another property. Buying vacation homes, right? House hacking for college. Like all of these are events that you can do that are very heavily real estate related, allow you to easily position yourself. You're not going to get 300 people at these events, but you're going to get 10 that are really serious, right?
Yeah. So Tara, you said learn it, which is super important, but what do you do if you're just like so intimidated by that process? We had all those templates for like the cover your assets event.
Yeah.
So what would you do in that situation where you're like, I really think this is important, I'm just not confident in it?
I think that's another place that your business partner, your power partners come into play, right? Like if you're not really confident about everything that it takes to buy a rental property, well, get your insurance person in there to help talk about what types of insurance your short-term rental actually needs, because it's much different than like what your personal residence needs. And then get a wealth planning person or a tax attorney in there to talk about how it should be deeded. Should you hold it in a trust? Should you buy it in an LLC? Like all of these things, right? Get a property management company in there to talk about that piece of it. Like, again, just like the smaller events that, people pay for, sometimes you just need to be the inviter and the person that coordinates it. And it's actually great because now those people are dishing it out to their databases too, right? So you're like, hey, I'd love to have you come in and talk about this. What I'd love is for you to put this out to your database. I'm going to put it out to my database. My insurance person's going to do the same. My wealth planner is going to do the same. And then now you have all of this cross exposure to other audiences that you wouldn't normally have exposure to.
Yep. And you've elevated that power partner at that point. And so there will be that reciprocation that happens for sure.
Absolutely. This is the actual exact advertising that I used for my tax planning class. Like, this is just very on brand. I was like, look, everybody's freaked out about these bills, like how to contest that big ass tax bill. Like, that's what it said. Everybody that came loved it. Nobody was like, oh my God, she said ass. Like that's just, I like to attract the people that I actually want to work with. This was actually during a tornado warning. We got like 80 people to show up, even though there was a tornado warning outside. So we had a lot more that RSVP'd, but it was a little low because of that. But like, imagine if you had 80 people that were showing up for something that you actually could flex your real estate muscles with, right?
Yeah.
All right, Jamie, I think this is our last one.
All right, step 9. You got to support the schools, y'all. You got to support the schools. We got to support the next generation. So what does that look like? Tara kind of already showed you some fundraising and supply drives. Be the room mom or dad. If you've got like an extra hour once a week, once a month even, be that person. Sponsor a team. All that takes is a little bit of money, and guess what? Maybe you do go in on it with a power partner. I know that Lauren does that with her lender, and they sponsor things or have, you know, the Reminder Media magazines together. But do that at your school. Sponsor, you know, the team. Stock the teachers lounge. This one's huge. Teachers love you when you love on them. They will always remember you. We stocked the lounge 3 years ago, and these teachers still remember us. Like that's the longevity of that, because people forget teachers. So make sure you're doing that. Do the trunk or treats, teacher appreciation luncheon. That's a slam dunk too. You can do a hometown hero program where you give back to anyone that is a local teacher, firefighter, police officer, local veteran, whatever. You can create your own. You don't have to go through Homes for Your Hero. Create your own program. It's that simple. Try not to overthink it, but I think the important piece here, again, it goes back to layering your efforts. You're doing all of these things in your 5 Mile Famous. You're not supporting this school and then doing something way across the other side of town and doing a billboard over there, and then, you know, taking on whatever because you got asked to support something in the other corner of town that's still an hour from you. It's all about doing all of these tiny little pieces together in your 5 Mile Famous radius, so that they're constantly seeing you everywhere and you're omnipresent and they can't get away from you. That is the whole point of all of this, is your layered efforts, because you never know what's important to somebody isn't going to be important to someone else, but you're constantly showing up, you're supporting the community, you're there, you're being known as your digital mayor. That's the important piece of all of this.
Yeah. So that was our final step, is the supporting your schools. I think we have like 10 minutes for Q&A. If you guys have any questions that maybe you want to ask, or like how to execute on something, you guys can all, oh, this QR code you can kind of scan to see where to find us too, but I can't see the chat, or if there is, or you can just raise your hand too.
So I gotta just, you know, based on what you guys have done, you've built this system out over however long you've been doing it. Every one of these things is gold. Personally, I mean, as a guy who's been doing this for 18 months and really loves his community and recognizes that where, you know, if I want my business to be what I want it to be, then I have to be the guy that my neighbor looks at when they want to sell a home, rather than three of the biggest names in my community.
Yep.
Okay, cool. What's the best place to start? You know, something I can do simple, whether it be a once a month thing or you know, the social media presence, all that sort of stuff. I mean, what's the best place to start and then build from there? Or is it, you know, starting at step 1 and going from there?
Yes, all of them. So starting at step 1 is step 1, right? Like, you got to figure out what the area is, and you really have to dive deep into that avatar, because the more that you can shift your messaging to those specific people, the faster you'll be able to build relationships.
Yeah. And then speak directly to that avatar, right? In the Facebook groups. For me, that's where I would start. Once I identified the location and once I identify the type of person, I'm finding those types of local Facebook groups simultaneously with creating my own, right? But there's communities already built and doing the engagement online. So I would insert myself. Absolutely. Be tactful about it, right? You're not going to insert yourself into another agent's real estate group and just be gross, right? You're not going to do that. But maybe it's a restaurant group, or maybe it's guys with dogs or whatever. I mean, I don't know. There's all kinds of different places that you could plug in. What makes sense for your ideal client, that's going to look different for everybody.
I think for you, Sam, too, I'll add to that. You just mentioned you've been in real estate for 18 months. Congratulations. You entered it in the hardest part that I've seen in the last 2 decades. Stick with it. I just want to encourage you, number one. Number two, write down those power partners. If you can't get to 100, get to 10 and make it an effort to meet those 10 people, and don't ask them for anything. You're just building relationship. You're introducing yourself and saying, how can I help support your business? The best advice I got when I first moved here was exactly that, is like, don't ask these businesses for anything. Ask how you can help support them. Continue to support them. You know, tagging them on social media and doing a quick little walkthrough video and tagging them. That is free. So support them in that way. So just find those power partners and support them. And then the next piece I would recommend, since it's almost November, look at next year and look at what can you do. Can you do something once a month? Great. If you can't, at least commit to something once per quarter. And what does that look like? Is there one fun event? Is there one real estate event? Is there one business to business event? Plan out that now, so that you're not 6 months into this next year and didn't do a single damn thing yet. Like, stick to the plan and at least know, all right, this is what I can do. This is how much I'm going to spend. Or maybe I'm not spending anything at all. Maybe this is me building that power partner list and eventually asking for help and coming in on these events together to pour into the community. So I think that's where you got to go.
Yep. And then for you also, since you're, I want to say newer, right? 18 months. I would be consistent on my social media with documenting, like document what you're doing in the community. Like Jamie just said, with promoting that business, document that you went and previewed a new construction. Like, just be very, very consistent with the documenting what you're doing inside the real estate space and how you're doing it local. Even if it's, hey, I showed properties this morning, but oh my gosh, you know, my favorite thing about this was this taco place right here. So you're doing both, right? You're supporting the business and you're showing that you're active in the real estate space. And that takes a little bit of just, it takes you, it'll be second nature, right? Once you do it, I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it'll become habit once you just start doing it every single day. And you'll see that that will, more than anything, just multiply your efforts quickly.
That was a good question.
Yep.
Other last
Anyone else?
questions for the girls?
I have a question. I can't find the hand raise feature, but when you are starting out, like finding that scope, that area of your 5 Mile Famous that you want to be, what recommendations do you have as you're looking at that? Out here we have like urban sprawl, so that's why I'm wondering, there's things I do like further away from my house and then things that are really close. What do you recommend looking at when you're finding that area that you want to be focused on?
I would say this, it doesn't have to be your own neighborhood, but the closer you are to your own neighborhood, the easier this process is going to be. Because so much of it is just, you know, living in the community. You know, when you're driving home from showings and you see a freaking bulldozer show up on a vacant piece of land one day, that's a cue for you to be like, okay, what's being built here, right? And so it just, those little types of triggers and just living in the community every day is super helpful, because you see when the little sign pops up that says coming soon, you see the public hearing thing that pops up that says, hey, we're going to talk about this zoning. So it makes it easier the closer you are to home. Or if there's an area away from home that you work all the time. Like I know plenty of people that live in the suburbs, but then like work the city neighborhoods for whatever reason. Like as long as you're there a lot, I would say keep in mind that your advertising too doesn't have to be So it doesn't have to be 100% what's happening in your community. And what I mean by that is like I live in the suburbs, right? But like we still go to concerts downtown, we still go to games downtown, we still go to community events that are downtown. So like I still share that kind of stuff inside of my community group because I figure if I'm doing it, the other families in this neighborhood are probably doing it too. So the primary amount of your content should be what's going on hyper locally, but then you can still share stuff that, you know, maybe is further away to give you more of a content base.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Awesome.
And then to kind of think about like what your client avatar is. Like if you don't want to work with first time home buyers, like don't pick a 5 Mile Famous area that is primarily newer, you know, entry level community homes because that's what you're going to have to speak to if that's what you pick.
Awesome. This was awesome. Fantastic. I thank you guys so much for joining us today. We had a great Winning Wednesday. Recording will be out as soon as it's available in the Zoom that I can download and send to you guys. You will also get it emailed as well. Girls with Grit, thank you guys so much. And don't forget, next week we have Shut Up and Dial. See you guys then.
Thank you. Bye,
Thank
y'all.
you. Bye, y'all.